Welcome back. In this video, we will see how to install Windows Server 2019 operating system onto VMware Workstation. So I have the workstation. I will create a virtual machine. I will start creating the virtual machine. I'll choose, instead of typical, I will choose the custom. I will select workstation 16, select next, and I will choose the ISO file. So this is the ISO file for Windows Server 2019. I will select the ISO file, click on open, next, and administrator. I will enter the password. I have entered the password. Since this is an evaluation copy, I don't have the product key. And I will give the name for the virtual machine, which is Windows Virtual Machine SRV01. And also I will select the location for the virtual machine files. I will use the same folder. And to keep the virtual machine files, I will create a directory. Click on next. This is the BIOS setting. I will use number of processor 2 and number of cores per processor is also 2. I will keep the memory as 2 gig. So 2 GB is sufficient for server 2019. I will keep all the settings as default. I will also use NVMe, which is a recommended setting. Click on next. Create a new virtual disk. That is also fine. I will store the entire 60 GB as a single disk file. Click on next. And this is the VMDK file, which is basically the virtual hard disk. Click on next and finish. The virtual machine has been created. Now the OS will be booting. Windows Server 2019 is booting from the ISO file. So the installation process is running. Setup is starting. Let us wait for some time. And I will select the data center. I will select the Windows Server 2019 data center evaluation with desktop experience. So I wanted the GUI. So I'll select next. Now this is the error when you try to install an operating system, which is Windows Server 2019 operating system, onto VMware Workstation. Let us go back and boot, restart the guest, and try to install the standard edition of Windows Server 2019. If we are unable to install the data center version, let us try and install the standard edition with the desktop experience. So again, setup is starting. So this time I'll choose Windows Server 2019 Standard Evaluation with desktop experience. Click on next. Yeah, again the same error. Windows cannot find the Microsoft software license. So when you see this kind of error, this is particularly a gotcha when you try to install the Windows Server 2019 onto a VMware Workstation. So what you have to do is you have to simply shut down, power off, delete the virtual machine which you have created, because this is not being installed and there is no data, or the operating system itself was not installed. So you can simply delete. I'll go to home again. I'll try to create the virtual machine. Again, I will select custom. I'll choose workstation 16. Click on next. So this time what I will do is, instead of using the disk image, I will select this option. In one of the forum, I saw that you should not select the ISO file while creating the virtual machine. I will leave the default options as it is. Next, I will give the name as Windows Server 2019 01, or I can use only this Windows Server 01. I will select the virtual machine disk files onto this location. Click on next. Also, I'll select the processor and the cores. I'll keep the memory as 2 gig. I'll keep the default setting for network, default setting for the disk. Click on next. Default setting for the disk type, and I'll create a new virtual disk. I'll select 60 GB and store the virtual disk as a single file. Click on next. Click on finish. Now the virtual machine has been created. Now I wanted to boot the Windows Server 29 operating system with the ISO file. So I'll edit the virtual machine. I will go to the CD or DVD option here. I will choose the ISO image file. I will select the image file. So this is the same image file which we tried to install before. So I'll select the same image file, open, OK, and power on the virtual machine. OK, let it boot. Let us see what happens now. I'll click on next. Install now. Setup is starting. Now I have an option to select the standard edition. I will select the data center edition itself with the desktop experience. Let us see the configuration whatever we have selected with the 2 CPU and 2 cores for each CPU with 2 gig of RAM and also 60 GB of hard disk space. Let us try and install the data center edition. Before, we were not able to see this particular page. So now we got this end user license agreement page. I'll click on next. I'll select custom install Windows only. I'll select the hard disk on which the operating system will be installed. Select next. Now we are able to see that the files are getting copied. So this means the Windows Server 2019, now it is getting ready for the installation. So there was one small setting which is basically a gotcha when we try to install on the VMware Workstation. So we were able to manage to change the setting. So basically that setting is to change the ISO file after the creation of the virtual machine. Once we did that, we were able to see the installation is in progress. And also we were able to install the Windows Server 2019 Data Center Edition. The files are getting copied. So there is a progress of installation. So it seems like the installation will success. So it is at 49%. I just wanted to keep the video as it is to see if there is any further issue while installing the operating system. I believe there will not be any issues because the installation is getting progress. Let us see how it goes. So now it has able to complete 68%. Okay, it is moving fast. 73%. Good. I wanted to keep this particular video as an unedited video so that I wanted to troubleshoot if there is any issues on the go. It has completed 97%. So whenever you try to install operating system like Linux on the VMware Workstation, it will be a clean installation without any issues. But when it comes to Windows, there will be some gotchas because of the licensing features what Microsoft has added. Since this is an evaluation copy, I thought that while installing the Windows Server 2019 should not be any issues, even though we got into this particular issue of the licensing. By changing a simple setting, we were able to install the evaluation copy. Now the installation has completed and it has rebooted the virtual machine. So it is starting services, getting ready, 11%, 47%. Okay. It seems like it has successfully installed the operating system after changing one small setting. So now we should be able to log into the Windows. And able to log in to the Windows. Okay, great. The administrator profile is getting built and we have successfully installed the operating system. Thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, please subscribe and share. Thank you and take care.